and I'm here at the #1 Long Island broadcast, Monty and Pharaoh. I had the best time ever.
Hey, listen, Daddy, you're listening to the #1 broadcast, Monty and Pharaoh, Daddy, in Long Island, the best pro wrestling broadcast of all time, I think.
Jimmy, I got to tell you, man, it feels good to be back on YouTube. It was quite disappointing what happened to us, but we bounced back fairly quickly.
Well, what else would we do? We're almost at 5,000 subscribers.
Well, speaking of that, man, we need more members.
Okay.
What do you think we need to do to get the people of those 5,000 subscribers to come on and join the team as a Monty and the Pharaoh member?
Nudity is out of the question. Any other ideas?
I don't know, man. I don't know. But what I do have a few ideas.
Well, just like Prel, they should tell 2 friends, and they could tell 2 friends, and so on and so on. Hit the like, hit the subscribe. Check out all our content.
But that's, you know what? That's why you're the star of the show, because guess what? Members get special content. Even we spoke about it. Pharaoh came to me one day and he goes, man, what's the deal? I can't even watch some of these videos because I'm not a member. And I said, there you go, Pharaoh. You got to be a member because this is what the members get. They get free content that none of the other fans that watch this show get.
That's right.
You get free autographs from some of these wonderful stars that come in, right?
Nice.
All you do is you go to the MNP webpage, or our own page, and shoot us an email and say, hey, man, I want a picture of Tommy Rich. I want a picture of whatever. And boy, that's on its way.
We give them their choice.
That's right.
We rock.
We do rock.
And you need to rock too. Join.
Big Jimmy, what's up, baby? How are you?
What a fucking guitar solo that is.
Dude, that is the best fucking guitar solo of all time.
It's up there. It's up there. On a melodic level.
I was supposed to be back in the studio at Tin Mirror Studios, and the new producer all of a sudden doesn't answer my phone calls and blah, 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 blah.
This is not my beautiful studio. This is not my beautiful producer. Wow.
Would you ever think it would just take this long to get it back? But the good news is when you're coming to New York, we've got a shitload of shows. You'll be making an appearance, big event. We're going to do that Thursday night show together. This would be pretty fucking badass, dude.
Yes, sir.
Dude,
that's what they say. Yes, sir.
You got lucky this time. You didn't get hit with that. First of all, prayers to everybody in Florida. It seems like it ended up not being, and I could be wrong, not being as bad as expected. But you thwarted this occurrence, right? So thank God for you. I'm glad for that.
Yeah. Can I ask real quick about Benny? Because I checked in with Benny this morning, but Benny was in the process of. He told me he was going back home. So have you talked to him? And is everything all right with Benny?
I did. I checked on him twice. He says he's doing fine. No real damage. I think he said he lost a old television antenna that was on top of his house or some shit like that.
We'll take it. Okay.
So, no, I agree. Fine. I totally agree with you on that one, man.
That's fine. Unfortunately for me, if I could fill you in a little bit. I got injured at work, and I've called it Mattingly back. Anybody from New York knows what Mattingly back is. You know, it ended Don Mattingly's career. I've had since 1999. This is now the 3rd time since 1999 that I've had Mattingly back. I was lifting and I lifted wrong, and for a couple of days it went from, hey, I don't think you did something right. This is my back talking to me, Michael. And within a few days, kaboom, it's back. It's not like a spasm. It's right at those 2 wonderful little lower lumbar discs that you have on each side, right above your ass, basically. and my weak side is my left side, always has been. And I'm right back to 24/7 pain because it doesn't spasm, it stays in spasm. You know how a spasm, when it retracts, at least it retracts for a few seconds. There's some sort of in between. There's no in between. So for the last, I guess this is day 5. Technically, it started Sunday. Yeah, I'm on my soapbox, but man, I'm in pain. They got me loaded up on shit. Thank God for Karen, because Karen is trying to take care of me like she always has. And I'm in hell physically. So
So tell me, when did your original back pain start? Like, well, first of all, I want to explain to people out there, and if they probably know already, but
yeah,
back pain is some of the big, like that is one of the bigger deals, right? I've heard of people brushing their teeth and blowing out their back. I've consistently, and I'm not comparing myself to what you're going through right now, Jimmy, at
sure,
all, but
sure,
I've consistently, since my mid 30s, I've had back problems from lifting weights, things like
sure.
that. Not to the point you're talking about, like I had a
Right.
pill up or anything like that. But
Mm-hmm.
it comes to a point where sometimes I can't breathe, like I can't expand,
Yeah.
can't bend over. And
Yeah.
as I get older, it's getting worse. But go ahead. Where did your original back
Well,
pain come from?
it's pretty simple. There were 3 phases. It started in 1999, and at the time, look, we're younger, okay? I'm 31, 32 years old. I play in baseball leagues. I have a band. I'm young. I work out. Everything's young. So what happened was I wound up in a job. You remember how big computer monitors used to be? The monitors themselves. Remember
Yeah.
how large they were? They were large, and they came in very large boxes, and they were heavy. In the early days of computers, just like old muscle cars, they were made out of some serious material. They weighed. They were heavy. So my job was just to check. There was something called asset tagging. Now,
Yeah.
that's something you probably know all about.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You would have to plug the monitor. First of all, they were, stacked on skids, 10 high, above me. I'm a 6 foot tall guy even then. I was 6 feet tall. They were a good 4 to 5 feet above me, as far as how high each skid was stacked. I'd be pulling them down, taking them out of the boxes, lifting them onto a table, plugging them in, and making sure that they turn on and function properly, and then putting an asset tag on it
Hmm.
that this monitor has been checked for its power, it's functioning. So I would do over 1,000 of those a day. That's when the first injury happened, where, of course, after 10 million, 2,500th time you're doing it, you turn wrong. All it takes is one time to turn your waist wrong, to forget about your knees, to forget about, and these were very stacked together. There was little play to work with as a lifter between skids. You know what I'm saying? So there was a lot of twisting and turning. So what happened then, oddly enough, that went on for like a year, and I played ball, and a doctor who happened to be a teammate used to dope me up so I would be able to function. But I
Because they
spent
needed you on the field. That's
because I was
crazy.
because I was the best catcher in a fast pitch league filled with Dominicans. That tells you what kind of talent this honky had.
Dude,
You
they
know,
might they might
back
have
in
to
the day.
they might have to put you on like some kind of trial, man. The doctor's juicing you out to play ball.
Well, he's gone now anyway, so we can't even pull a ring boy scandal. You know what I'm saying? So what are we go? Well, a ball boy scandal in this case. I mean, what are we gonna fucking do? So
Literal ball boy.
yeah, but it passed because I got away from that job. You understand? I couldn't keep doing it. I got
Yeah,
terribly injured.
yeah.
So many years go by, and now it's probably about 2012, and I must have just moved the wrong way, because and I don't remember what made it happen. I've been doing a lot of walking, but they say walking is good for sciatica. I've never read where walking is bad for sciatica. But all of a sudden, there it was again. Except now it had morphed. All those years later, not having it for years, you figure it's gone forever. I'm not lifting anymore. I'm good. Well, no, it reappeared and decided to not only go in the lumbar region but run down the leg. So I don't know if you've ever had anything like that where your lower back is out and your leg feels like a toothache.
Absolutely.
So
Yeah.
so this went on for 2 years where I had to go to therapy and radiation treatment and shots and all sorts of stuff, and then it went away again. And it's now 10 years later. Yeah, this is the weirdest thing with me with my back. I don't understand this, how it reappears under this, takes years off and then it reappears. So we were unloading some trucks. You can appreciate unloading trucks. I'm sure in your day you've unloaded quite a few, especially when your fucking lazy staff won't do what the boss has to do because he's a man. But to make a long story short, I must have twisted and turned the wrong way. I felt a tiny little, well, man, whatever. But that tiny little whatever within, like I said, a couple of days turned into, it's very similar to the 2012 situation. It won't stop in the lumbar region. It's constant and it's running around to my leg. And I'm thinking to myself, oh my God, a part of what I was hoping to do with this job was to be able to receive the trucks in. It's important. Someone's got to do it. It gives you some value, you know. And holding a job is everything. If you can't hold a job, what the fuck are you? So I'm worried now because here I am. Karen was kind enough to get me to a doctor today and get the right meds for me, and I sent them the note. And it's turning out that the person that I like very much at work is leaving,
Mm.
and I don't know where this leaves me because I really don't know anybody else there that I've been able to feel comfortable with and know, hey, they know I do a good job and this is a good thing.
Mm.
You know what I mean? So now I'm instantly injured and wondering about everything.
Well, that's
You know?
that's always, I try to explain that to people because I've gone through my trials too, and
Right.
it's like if you don't have your health, man, you really have
You're,
nothing.
yeah.
Like you could be
Yeah.
broke, you could have no one, whatever, but if you have your health, you always have that opportunity to recover. Once you start losing your health, it becomes
And
a
you know
much
what,
bigger.
Mike, I agree 1,000%. And to add to it, it's twofold. It's not just your physical health; it's your mental health too.
Sure. Yeah.
You could be perfectly physical, and when your mind is not. So right now, I've got both absolutely
Well,
beating the tar out of
we
me.
were talking off air, right?
Sorry,
When
folks
you're
at
not
home.
when
I'm
you're not
sorry.
feeling good, dude, it's hard to keep
Yeah.
your mental stuff. Once you start feeling a little better, then you'll recover. Listen, I don't want to jump off of that, dude, but I did want to share something. So we were talking about Florida, right? And I felt, look, dude, I was worried about you when it was happening. Definitely worried about Benny. We've got friends from school. We've got friends in
Sure.
Florida, right? Our own Missy Beefcake was right in the eye of the storm.
I
I
was.
had to check on her. She's
I,
okay. Everything's fine.
yeah.
But,
Good.
so,
Good.
when you think
Thank
about
God.
humanity, but I wanted to share this with you, Jimmy. So think about this, okay? You got this big storm coming, right? And you got to pack your family up. You're going to go. What does some person do? Let me see if you want to enjoy this one.
It's okay. I don't blame you. I don't blame you. It's okay, buddy. It's okay.
So someone decided, hey, you know what? I don't really care about my dog. I'm going to just know the big storm's coming. I'm going to chain it to a tree and let it drown. Thank God for some officers in Florida that video was from an officer who saw this dog. And if you watch that video closely, Jimmy, the water's up like halfway up the dog's legs already. What the fuck is going on in humanity, man? I'm sorry.
About 30 years ago, the government decided that it was no longer proper to house the mentally ill. And they decided to give everybody a pill and let them cure themselves at home. What we have over the last 30 years is apparently, to me, a lot of really bad crossbreeding amongst the insane. Because that's insane. No one with a heart or a sane mind would do anything like that to an animal. I actually strongly suggest the idea that the animal is not the animal that was chained. The animal is the chainer.
Mm.
We are in a very, very sick time because we have turned our back on caring. Okay? If we, it got vilified in the old days that insane asylums were prisons. And in some cases, they very well may have been. But to take away the alternative when a truly sick person obviously needs to be put away and observed. And that's the key word, observe. If we had had more decent care for the human race, I don't think we would have discarded millions. By the way, what happened in New York, you live in New York. You were at the epicenter of psychiatric care. I don't know if you realize that, but that was the most populated place in the States back in the post-war when soldiers needed somewhere to go. Would you have rather they come home, take a pill, and figure it out for themselves, Michael? Or
Well,
go someplace
honestly, I think that's what happened for the longest time. You're talking about Vietnam vets who,
Right.
when they got home, had no help, and they were strung out on heroin and everything else. Here, these heroes defended this country, right? And
Right.
but again, I'm looking at this, Jimmy, and I'm thinking to myself, look, I understand you're in a panic, right? It's like, how do you leave your animal
You
and
don't.
just leave? It's like
You don't.
It's like, what inhumane, like, my God, Jimmy.
Did this person go to jail?
What I think is the police were driving by and they saw the dog chained to a tree.
Have they found the dog's owner?
I haven't investigated. I would doubt it. But again, think about it. You're a cat lover. You're a dog lover. Could you imagine? Like, look, I speak to my wife about this all the time, right? People lose their jobs. The economy's not great, and to care for an animal costs a lot of money. You got to buy your, between vet bills and food and everything else. But it's like.
Let me put it this way.
I don't know, man. I could kill someone over this.
You know what? This is going to be very honest of me, but once upon a time, there was someone who was related to me who I thought was a brother and has 3 children, and 2 of them he has never given a dime to and doesn't even fucking know.
Right.
Okay? There are some evil fucking people out there who don't give a shit about anybody but themselves. The end. And it's fucking sad, but it's true. And forgive me for being so candid about it, but anybody who leaves an animal out, they should get the same due penalty. Why don't we pull the old, what was it, creep show, Mike? Let's take that guy and bury him up to his head in the sand and let the tide come in. How's that?
How great dude? I'm so glad you brought up that movie. I was just thinking about that movie the other day.
How's that sound?
Badass.
And sorry about the personal shit I just disclosed, but a piece of shit is a piece of shit.
No, listen, bro. I get it. And again, when I think about when you feel bad for people that are losing their houses, but some animal just like chains another living being to a tree to drown. Like, what the? Anyway, little wrestling talk, something that got you a little triggered earlier this week.
Triggered my ass. I knew what you were doing. I willfully played along, you motherfucker.
SmackDown viewership when Jinder Mahal was world champions was 2.546 million. SmackDown viewership under Cody Rhodes as champion is 1.4. Cody Rhodes is one of the lowest drawing world champions in WWE history. Thoughts on that, Mr. Farrow?
Well, here it is, because you gave me the only thing I needed to do. Quote you. Cody Rhodes is champion during the most successful time period in the history of pro wrestling. Wait, ... Isn't it amazing how you can spin it any way you want it to make your agenda work for you? Brilliant. Mike, brilliant. Brilliant. Because, yes, when I read it on the surface, I'm right back at the Barclays. I'm right back with 20,000 people watching Nakamura get pinned, and everybody wants to just take a dump on their chair. I mean, I was just like, what the fuck did you do? It was bad enough that SummerSlam also, by the way, Vince gave us Dean Ambrose versus, I think, John Cena. This was the worst 8 minutes of wrestling you could possibly imagine. People were like, Stinkfest. Absolute stinkfest.
I don't remember that at all. Really,
I think Baron Corbin came out and bought us for 10 minutes. I mean, that card that night. And I remember at the train station afterwards watching people were miserable. It was like they had been to a Jet game.
Yeah.
You know? It was like one of those sorts of things. And by the way, can we get it in real quick? So long, Robert Saleh, with your pretty eyelashes. Get the fuck out of here.
Best thing that happened this week.
And I just got a flash across my screen, Mikey. You'll be happy to hear this. Nathaniel Hackett has been demoted, and the offensive line coach now is the play caller.
Which surprises me because, since this firing, everybody's blaming our boy Rodgers. And by the way,
which is a joke.
But wait a minute. But you did say this to me on the phone, and you were right.
Yeah.
Aaron Rodgers is playing every bit of a 41-year-old. It's over already.
Well, right? Okay. Right now, yes. He has been, because he has done what even the greatest veteran. Listen, in the middle lies the truth. Okay, it is not true that Aaron Rodgers runs everything that goes on with the Jets. It's also not true that Aaron Rodgers has no say. So what I think is in the middle, like any great professional would, and I do believe he did. He came in and gave Robert Saleh and the rest of the coaching staff every benefit of the doubt. He is now 5 games into a season where he has shown that, no, he is not currently Aaron Rodgers, but if he can free up the things that are bothering him about the coaching staff, then maybe he can get to where we expect him to get to. And I still think that might come into play. Robert Saleh was what I called boo-boo face. And it's funny now, I've been saying this for years, but now all of a sudden everybody's saying what I've been saying for years. Robert Saleh cannot adjust. He doesn't know what an adjustment is, okay? Halftime comes and there's never an adjustment. He doesn't know how to clock manage. By the way, that's my number one pet peeve with a coach. If you don't know how to clock manage, you are not a coach.
Look, great defensive coordinator, terrible head coach. There's plenty of those. That's it.
That's right. And there's a huge, and that's why when I hear, which of course there's some truth to it, but when I hear that Tom Brady won all of those Super Bowl rings with the Patriots without the aid of Bill Belichick, bullshit. Because Belichick was a great defensive mind. Bill Parcells was a great defensive mind, okay? But what they also were overseers of everything. And you can tell that with Saleh, he only saw defense. He never saw everything. Even Rex in his first 2 years with the Jets saw everything before it became a clown show.
To be fair, the problem with the Jets is they continually hire defensive head coaches. You need an offensive head coach.
Well, Adam Gase was not a defensive coach.
Oh, well, you know what? That was a whole mess. You know, dude, here's the reality of it, man. And I got to say it. I was driving home from vacation. I'm listening to the game. Even when I'm listening to the radio and they're marching down at the end of the game, I knew it was over. They were not winning that game. No. And you know what? Here's the reality of it, dude. As a Jet fan, we're playing for first place on Monday night, and guess what? We're not winning. And you know what? Look, dude, I am so down on New York sports. Again, everybody's yipping and jumping around. We beat Kansas City last night, the Yankees. The great Aaron Judge cannot hit. He's garbage. And I heard you with Benny last week, and you hit it on the head. He has to make his mud in the playoffs. And guess what? You know what he is? He's an overrated Henry Lundqvist. That's what he is.
And it's funny, too, because I have been on record as saying quite quietly, but Benny can back me, and I'm sure you've heard it from me, that Giancarlo Stanton, when he's on the field, especially in the playoffs, is clutch.
And I'm a Stanton guy. I have always been.
I'm not a Stanton guy, but I do pay attention, and I always notice that when things count the most, if he's on the field, he's good.
They said it last night. He's got the best home run playoff ratio.
Yeah,
he's Babe Ruth.
I won't go that he hasn't.
No, that was a stat. They said
but it's a very small sample compared to Ruth. So
I understand.
You understand what I'm saying? Ruth did this from 1920 to 1935. You know what I mean? Playoffs. Aaron Judge has to hit, obviously, but you know what shouldn't be lost here either? The fact that, and I love these guys, well, I love one of them. Garrett Cole and Carlos Rodon gave us absolutely nothing in those first 2 starts. We had to use the entire bullpen, okay, both times. That can't happen either. You understand? And
listen,
what worries
Jimmy,
me,
You can't get excited about a team that played a lower level team who played straight a whole entire month, and we could
Right.
barely squeak by. The
Right.
great Yankees,
Right.
dude.
Well, they're not great anymore. The Yankees have been very good for about 15 years.
Yeah, but dude, Houston's
That's all
out.
they are.
You've got now
They're the
Detroit is going to
Cowboys.
be in there. Detroit,
Mhm.
we're going to be playing Detroit
Right.
if we can make it here. If we
Right.
can't make it to the World Series, are you
Right.
kidding me?
Well,
But you're not
Brian-
going to make it to the World Series with that clown judge striking out every
No.
time at bat.
No, you're not. And I'll tell you the bigger reason why you're not. You remember Mr. May, right?
Yeah.
You know who Mr. May was, right? I mean,
Yeah.
Dave Winfield during the regular season was majestic. He gave us 35, 110 every year. But he goes 1 for 22 in the World Series. And the only reason they got to the World Series was his Aaron Judge doesn't have Reggie Jackson. Reggie Jackson was on that team. You know what I'm saying? He doesn't have that. Aaron Judge has to step the fuck up. If Alex Rodriguez never had that 2009 season, postseason, that was unbelievable. It was amazing.
Mhm.
If he never had that, then he would have been the absolute biggest loser. He would have surpassed poor Dave Winfield. You know, so Judge has to wake the fuck up and now. And you know what I suggest Judge do? Instead of trying to hit a home run, why don't we get back to basics and hit it up the middle?
Or how about take a walk? How about that? Do
Well,
something.
oddly enough, he did take a walk in the game one that they won 6-5, and he scored a run. But that's not what we want him for. You know it, and I know it.
You know what?
We don't want him for that.
Football
We want him
season
to be
over,
2 for
baseball
4.
season over. I'm so done with
You
the
know.
whole thing, dude. All right, let's get to what we're talking about here, my friend. So we had a little Marty Jannetty Mayhem this week. Anyone on that watches the show knows we're pretty close friends with Marty, and Marty also. Look at this. I thought I crossed her name out, but off of social media, his now wife wrote, "Keeps calling. I keep recording it so the world will know exactly what kind of person you are. I think I may need to go live, explain my side since you live in a fantasy. I will answer questions live and play recordings. Keep it up, Marty Jannetty. You don't want me to tell all. You don't suggest you stop now or leave me alone and stop harassing." So if anyone doesn't know, I got a call from Marty and he was having a fallout with his wife, and hate to bring it up on the show, but tried to reach out to Marty to see if he wanted to come on and talk about it, but he has turned off his cell phone. It doesn't work. It goes straight to nowhere. It's out of service.
Right.
So I won't play the recording I sent you, Jimmy, but when I sent it to you while I was on vacation, what did I write? I'm like, this is what I got to deal with on a regular basis, right? What did you think about that recording?
Well, how much do you want me to divulge of that recording? Because, you know, that recording had some pretty heavy shit on it. You know what I'm saying?
You do what you want to do. You do what you think you need to do.
Well, first of all, I remember Marty saying on the message, like, you know, I don't want you to, you know, put this on Facebook or talk about this. True or false?
He says, don't put it on Facebook. Or he did not give us that direct line, Jimmy. He said, do not put it on Facebook or whatever
it is you do.
Right.
Or whatever it is you do. Right.
Right. So I'm not putting it on Facebook. But you know what? No, on a serious note, we got to address the Marty Jannetty situation, dude. It's
Well, I'll tell you what. I will let you, since this is what you've got to deal with, and I don't envy you for it.
Right.
Why don't you tell me what you thought about what he said, and I will do my best to, you know.
So Marty,
I mean, I know what he said, obviously.
Marty's wife went to here's another Facebook post. I can't really read it, but it's Marty retaliating. I guess they had a falling out, and Marty continues to throw her out of the house, right?
Right.
And, you know, again, they're putting this out for public consumption. They've since taken it down. If people could read that, go ahead. Like I said, my production is not the greatest, so I tried to fit as whatever we could. Marty is really beginning to concern me. He had a podcast, right? with Savage, Party with Marty. I think he did the best he could with it. I think the love for Marty Jannetty has to do with his craziness or his antics when it comes to podcasting, but he's not easily controlled, Jimmy. And I saw some really good sides of Marty where he wasn't, I guess, drinking, and he's a really intelligent guy, and I was very highly impressed. But
Yeah.
he seems not to be able to get his shit straight. And you're talking about an iconic wrestler. I mean, if you talk to anybody in the know about pro wrestling when it comes to Marty Jannetty, when he was part of the Rockers or the Midnight Rockers, whatever you want, Midnight Rockers, he was the star. He was the man. He had better mic skills. At the time, he had better wrestling skills at the time. After the barbershop, that's where it all fell apart. Marty just seemed to fall apart, or I don't know how to analyze Marty, Jimmy. I don't, from his antics of talking about wanting to fuck his daughter. Remember that one?
Yeah.
Killing the guy at the bowling alley with a brick.
Right.
To what we witnessed when we first had him in studio at that signing. Marty's a wonderful guy, but it's certainly becoming a problem, in my opinion.
I think that it's like a Ric Flair. What I mean by that is that Marty's reality and Marty's stage life intertwined to the point where it became so confusing. Marty could no longer distinguish when he's Marty Jannetty the person. He's now become more Marty Jannetty the wrestler. Ric Flair is probably the original Richard Fleer, who wanted to be Dusty Rhodes Jr. And I know so many things about Ric Flair through Karen when Rick was young and when he was first coming up, and how Wahoo McDaniel convinced him to be Dusty Rhodes' son was ridiculous and told him to just change the spelling on his last name. It was Wahoo who did that, by the way, and said, change your spelling to Flair, Flair, and be yourself. Ric Flair became what a lot of the guys in the rock business become. They lose touch with reality. Marty has lost touch with reality. Marty, we love you. So you can take it any way you want and say, they're just sensationalizing my problems. You put your problems out there publicly, Marty. Don't blame anybody else. It's your fault that everybody is forced to speculate about you because they care about you. What Mike and I are doing right now, we're talking about somebody we do actually care about.
Absolutely.
Correct, Mike?
Absolutely.
I mean, when I heard what I heard on the tape, I thought to myself, here we go again. Is this another bowling alley situation? You know what I mean? Where it's all puff and smoke.
Well,
Look,
let me share something with you, Jimmy. So I was like, you know how endearing I find Missy Beefcake, right?
Yeah.
She's a fucking wonderful lady, but she went and married Marty Jannetty, and from seeing how Marty was. Missy, she got ordained, and she married Marty.
Oh, yes. Okay.
Right?
Yes.
And
that was about a week after Karen and I got married.
That is correct. Yep, that's right.
And
unfortunately, they made the dirt sheets and you didn't. What kind of bullshit is that, dude?
Well, we were good news, and I'm not a former rocker. Well, I'm a rocker, but I'm not a former rocker. I was never in a band with Sean.
I did say to Missy, I thought it was a mistake marrying them because Marty can be a little bit humiliating towards people. But anyway, Missy explained to me they were already married or some bullshit. I don't know. But I will tell you that
they have a long history, Mike.
I agree with what you're saying. He still thinks he's a rocker.
Right.
And he doesn't realize that he's going to live. Like, if he lives, he's going to have this long, lonely life. And here's this woman that loves him and wants to take care of him. And I just, for some reason, I don't think he treats her right, dude, to be honest with you.
You know what, though? I mean, I because I don't really know the dynamic, and neither do you, I'm going off the voicemail, and I'm not going to repeat everything unless if you feel comfortable to repeat something. Of course, I'll back it if you do, but I got that Now, look, every relationship is obviously different, but the most evil person I ever met was an ex, okay? And what she did was so underhanded and so wrong and put me in such a traumatic experience, which in the end turned out to be all puff, smoke, and mirrors. But I was processing and all this garbage, and it was not. Meanwhile, the person is having a fucking affair, and I got personal emails the day before from such said person how they wanted to put whipped cream on my Louisville Slugger. You know what I'm
Right.
saying?
Right.
So when I read what I read about how she would know that a certain door to the house is open, and all of a sudden in walks some fucking thug that wants to beat up an older man. Marty is not young. And I'm thinking to myself, yeah, well, if you send somebody into my motherfucking house, now again, how true this all is, do we really know?
Well, the weird thing, I
know,
did get a phone call
but
after that, and she was there, and they
right.
started screaming about that situation too, and she was denying something happened.
Listen, man,
I don't
I don't
think what
believe
he
for one.
said
If
happened,
if
but
if someone did walk in that door, I do not believe that it's a coincidence out of nowhere under the circumstances that some stranger said, "Hey, I think I'll try this back door tonight."
right.
Okay? I have dealt with the worst of the worst. Satan does appear in human form.
Mm,
I've met her. You
mm.
understand what I'm saying? They are out there, okay? They are out there. Evil spirits can pop into any body they goddamn feel like. I don't care if that sounds loony to some people, but the book I read, I take very seriously, you know? And if you don't think that there was an evil spirit inside Napoleon or inside Adolf Hitler or inside my good old buddy Charlie Manson, Mike, then you just aren't paying attention. That's all
Jim,
there is to it,
Jimmy, let me ask you something. Do you think
Yeah.
just put a picture of Sean and Marty up
What a
there, right?
great team they were. What
They
two
were.
good-looking guys,
Do
amazing
you
in-ring
do you
workers.
think that Marty just never got over Sean becoming this
Never,
iconic figure
never.
and Marty is just a mess to this day?
Bingo. Bingo, Mr. Monty. Bingo. Ha, and they say you're not a pro wrestling expert, those fucking morons. Bingo. Of course he never got over it. Do you think that Jakey Lee is still over how Sharon Osbourne bounced him from Ozzy? Ozzy's bigger than the Rockers.
Right.
I mean, here comes the guy who comes in and fills Randy Rhodes' shoes. How did you like Shot in the Dark? How did you like Bark at the Moon? That's some pretty good goddamn guitar playing, right?
Yeah.
How would you like to be shut out of something that just like Marty knew, if the Rockers stay together or if look, we just watched Jey Uso get a goddamn belt. You couldn't have done that for Marty. You couldn't have figured out a good push for Marty.
Well, they
You
did.
think
They gave him an IC title, dude.
Yeah, but they could have done more from Marty over the years. Marty's also his own worst enemy. That's the problem.
But you're hitting it on the head right there,
That's
Jimmy.
the
You're right.
problem.
He's like superstar Billy Graham. He cannot be trusted. He can't listen.
Well,
dude,
here's the you know what? You're right. He cannot be trusted, but why can he not be trusted? Because just like superstar Billy Graham, he cannot be tamed.
Right.
That's the problem.
Right.
That's the biggest problem of them all. I mean, I pray for that. Wouldn't it be wonderful if Marty did a CM Punk? Think about it, because CM Punk couldn't be tamed, correct? He couldn't be. He had to leave. He had to go do his own fucking thing. He goes to other places. He gets in fucking physical altercations with the people. He can't be tamed, right? But then something happens. I mean, you marvel at it all the time. I love the fact that you're always able to give somebody that second chance. See, that's what people don't realize about you, and it pisses me off as your co-host to constantly have people not think that you're not fair. So when Punk fucking came back and had that epiphany, whatever it was, I pray for Marty to have that. Marty Jannetty could wake up tomorrow. Listen, I still think, despite everything he's done to himself, and yes, he has a foot problem. I get all of that. I think Marty looks pretty goddamn good when he's sober. You know what I mean?
Jimmy, what you're saying is incredible, but here's my fear.
He's got to get back to it.
If Marty's on his deathbed, he's gonna. I know in his mind he keeps saying, because I've heard him a few times, and he's said that he doesn't really respect a common man. You know what I mean? He's a wrestler, right? He thinks what he did is super special, and there's nothing wrong with that. But here's the thing. When he's on his deathbed, dude, he's going to be like, what could I have really been? Because in the end of it, his legacy is becoming a joke, is what I'm trying to say.
He won't be alone. I need to say that. He won't be alone, because most of us do wind up on our deathbed thinking about all the different possibilities.
Sure. But,
all right, so he won't be alone in that. But I don't... Look, I've learned to do this. I've stayed consistent about this, whether it's Mr. McMahon, whether it's Joe Paterno, whether it's in Marty's case, whether it's Marty Jannetty. I have learned to separate the career. And not, you know what? The hardest one has been Benoit, okay? Because I really won't watch Benoit's matches. That's just too far, all right? And I'm sure you'd agree with me on that.
100%.
But as far as Marty goes, I'm still able to divide it. Marty Jannetty, the pro wrestler, was a first ballot Hall of Famer who would be in the Hall of Fame if Marty wasn't so busy trying to be Ozzy Osbourne snorting ants in 1986 to impress Motley Crue. Marty, you don't need to impress anybody anymore. Your career was impressive and still is impressive enough. Everybody looks up to you. You don't have to think you're a loser. You're not a loser. Get your head straight, get a good, decent, honest agent, and book yourself from here to the end of time, because you'll find yourself not only sober, but well paid. Since you won't be spending your money on drugs, you'll be able to save, and your job will be, now get this, Marty, because could you imagine if this was our job every day, Mike? Your job will be to fly from city to city to see this wonderful country, to see states I've never seen, that I can only hope to see, and get to sit at a table and have everybody there happy to see you and to want your picture and to want you to sign something for them because they remember you as a great professional wrestler. You are a legend. Stop doing this to yourself. You're only hurting yourself. But in the meantime, there is an osmosis. You're taking down everybody who still fucking loves you and believes in you. So if you want to get mad at us for saying these things, bro, I wouldn't even hold it against you. All right. But you've made a lot of your personal things public, and we're just trying to help you.
Yeah.
I don't know what else to say, Mike. I mean, he's
no.
trapped.
Well said.
Don't wind up like Sonny, please.
Well, but
don't
you know what?
wind up overdosing.
There's another player in this, and to his wife, Addie. I think I'm saying it right.
Right.
Listen,
of course.
There's plenty other fish in the sea, young lady, and no matter how much you love someone, if it's poison, and you need to get out. Right? You need to get out. Life is too short.
You know what I told you? You're correct. And when I told you, when I saw Marty briefly at the gathering, I was coming out of the elevator and he was with Addie, and Addie was very distant. I thought to myself, well, maybe it's because of the history of us with Marty on the show.
Right.
But now that I know what you sent me,
mm-hmm.
I'm looking at it completely differently. She did not look happy. And I'm like, oh, God, what's going on here? You know?
Well, you know what, dude, you, me, everybody else, we all get shit on, right? So it's like, it's got to be kind of tough getting shit on all the time. And you know what? That's the other thing too. If you're as good as a person, I think you are, Marty, then if you really don't feel that way about this person, then set them free. Don't give them mixed messages. When someone's really in love with you, it's like,
Do you think that he spent a lot of time during their relationship talking about all the negativity and all the things that hurt him in the business? Because
if you want to ask me my opinion, I think Marty spends a lot of time speaking about himself, and that in a relationship is exhausting. Okay, because when it's always about the one person, eventually you get. Look, we discussed it. If you were married to, Nikki Bella.
Oh God,
it would be fucking exhausting, bro.
Oh God,
exhausting.
No. I know. Absolutely.
Listen,
agree.
I also posted something I thought was pretty funny, maybe
Okay.
funny, but not. Maybe coming off this show just shows maybe the case. But when you Google us on, one of the main things that come up is a write up on us, and I wanted to get your thoughts on it because we haven't
Yeah, what
discussed
was
that.
that all about? Fill me in.
They claim that the two are bullies who use their power to
They're bullies.
influence, to intimidate, and exploit others in the pro wrestling world, like we're doing right now, I guess, right? Um,
Oh
Critics
yeah.
of Monty
Oh.
Nefaro argue their behavior is damaging to the sport and to the individuals who are affected by their their bullying. Thoughts on that?
Right. Oh
What do
well,
you like of that write up, buddy?
well, I love it because first of all, someone finally acknowledged the fact that we do have power and influence.
Yeah, right. I agree.
So you have that right there. Now, bullying sounds to me a lot more like liberal whining.
Hmm.
Okay, because when you and I talk about somebody's problems, they usually turn out to not only be true what we're observing, and by the way, every time we do observe someone's problems, don't we always offer our support and a peaceful solution to like how maybe you can better your situation? We do it all the time, you know? So, like, for example, the Matt Riddle situation. Matt Riddle was his own worst enemy. You know, I mean, it sounds a little familiar with Marty, but Matt Riddle was his own worst enemy, and he was doing a lot of things that he definitely should not have been doing. We always said on air, I know, at least I know I did, that I was a huge fan of his character. I thought his talent level was to the max, and there's so much more he could accomplish. Be a better family man. You know, don't have chicks to the side. You know, and at the end of the day, take your craft a lot more seriously because you could go a lot further. Well, what happened? At the end of the day, they let him go for the things that this wasn't bullying. This was us observing what he was doing. And a
Yeah,
lot of what he was doing was public. You know, these guys make their shit public and then they don't want anyone to have an opinion on it. Well, then don't make it public. Why don't you take a page out of Joe DiMaggio and keep your shit to yourself? So this way we don't have to have an opinion on what you've already thrown out there. You know, a lot of these guys have gotten filthy rich over this business, and then they want the fans to not say a word. I'm sorry if our opinion doesn't always align with you, but there's an option. Watch something else. Okay? We're not true bullies. You want to know who a bully is? We've seen a bully. What was it? Scam, whatever his name was. Oh my God. That's a bully. You
right.
know, like making fun of dead people, doing stuff like that. You know, I mean,
Well,
they
that's
can't
just
sell,
disgraceful, dude. There's a level. Look,
you
we're
know.
having a discussion about Marty Jannetty and Marty Jannetty, and because we care about him, right? We're
Of
not,
course we do.
but you know
Uh,
what? We're also going to keep how we feel, whether
Do
people
you
agree with us
do
or
you
not. That's their choice.
do you remember me begging Sunny on the air to get better friends before she got herself put in jail?
Yes, sir, I do.
Begging her. I was like, do you realize what kind of life you could have? I don't understand a lot of it because, you know, wrestling and professional sports and music are so much different than any other profession because after you're done, because they all usually have a time limit. You
Mhm.
know, as a wrestler, you should probably quit by 50. You really should. You know what I mean? As a musician, in the eyes of a record company, you hit 40. You're ancient. They're looking for the next 20-year-old with Mr. Brightside. You
Right.
know what I mean? They're not looking for you, you know? And in sports, Joe DiMaggio, did you ever think about this? Joe DiMaggio lived over 80 years, and only 12 of his years alive did he play for the New York Yankees. He spent the rest of his life getting to meet fans, getting to sign pictures, getting to be treated like gold, probably getting a free dinner wherever he went. You know, these wrestlers are in a very, very special business that they could be very happy with post career. And a lot of them are. We've seen a lot of that's why I'm still upset that the Patriot passed away. That guy had it figured out.
He did
He
have it figured
he
out.
had it he
But
had it
you know
figured
what,
out.
dude? It's
You know?
almost like that's what you. I don't know. It's like I almost expected that to happen when it happened. He finally had his shit together. Listen, Jimmy, we went long on the first show. I want to remind everybody
Sure.
we've got special guest Nikita Brezhnikov, and the referee Fred Rubenstein on the next show. We're going to continue the show if you don't mind, as long as your back can hang out. We'll even go longer on that show because we
Wait a
got a lot
minute.
to
Hold
cover
on.
from this show.
We have guests tonight. I don't have a script.
It's fine. You're okay. You're
Oh
okay.
my God.
You're okay. You'll be
The
okay.
the doctor ruined everything today, dude. I was
Fucking
loaded
doctor.
up
So I
and
want everybody to remind, because we got so much to cover, and I also remind everybody on, I believe on the let me see here what I got written down. You are in here on the 7th on a Thursday doing a show at
right,
the studio. The
right,
8th, we've got OVW star J Rod,
right.
women's world champion at 7 p.m. And then at 8 p.m., one night only, we got Sandman, Todd Gordon, and the Queen of Extreme, Francine, a 2-hour. And Jimmy, I got some good shit set up for this one. Todd is ready. We're ready. It's going to be great. Then you're at the big event Saturday. And then
Yeah.
you're off to go see Maiden, and I'm off to interview Dan Spivey. So it's a great weekend. I'm looking forward to having you up here.
Boy, talk about never being. I was definitely raised in a hardcore Jewish household. Talk about never being satisfied. I was crushed when I learned I'm going to miss Spivey.
Oh, dude, I know. I
I'm
feel so
like,
fucking
oh,
bad.
come on,
Well,
man.
you could always change
You
your
know?
mind. You could always change your mind.
Oh yeah, sure. And Miss Iron Maiden doing 2 minutes to midnight. That's not fair.
I want to thank everybody out there
Thanks.
for supporting the show. We've got one video that has reached 100,000 views. We've been recognized by YouTube for that. So we want to thank you guys for taking that time out and joining us.
Yeah.
All right. So
Yes,
and the
yes.
reality of it here, man, is we're going to go to the other show, get that set up. Okay.
All right.
And then if you can hang in there, I know your back isn't great.
Yeah.
Do the best you can.
Yeah.
And we'll
I
do
need
the
a script.
we'll do the interview.
This is bad.
You'll be good, dude. You'll be okay.
Oh God.
All right, with
Fully
that,
improv.
join us at in literally, I don't know, 8 minutes, where we got Nikita Brezhnikov and referee Fred Rubenstein. We got a lot to cover, bro. All right. I'll
Yes,
see you
sir.
then.
All right,
buddy.
later. Later.